Welcome to Fierce Conversations with Toby, the podcast where we dive deep into the art of overcoming. Here we share powerful stories that ignite healing and inspire profound transformations in your own journey. I'm Toby Dorr, and together we'll explore the resilience, courage, and fierce determination that turn life's challenges into stepping stones for growth. Let's begin this transformative journey together. Thanks for joining me today on Fierce Conversations with Toby. My guest is going to blow your mind because she blows my mind every time I look at her Facebook page. Brandy Von Holten has like a dozen businesses and just keeps growing. So welcome, Brandy.
Hey, I am so happy to have this here because, you were a guest on my podcast, and now you said that you wanted to do podcasting, and then here you are.
And here I am. Yes. I think I might have been one of your first episodes. I don't remember if I was the very first, but it was way back at the beginning.
You were the third person for me to interview, but I made you my first podcast. So I changed the order. You were my beginning one, the first one.
That's pretty cool. And your podcast was called Big Boss Mare, right?
It was, but now I've interviewed so many men that I wanted to make sure and open it up. So we trademarked the term country tough with it being spelled correctly. So now it's Country Tough with Brandy Von Holten. I made Big Boss Mare. I have a clothing line now. And Big Boss Mare is a segment of the clothing line. Mm-hmm. So I kept with those words, just changed their use.
That's cool. Cool. So Brandy's husband, David, had a farm that had been in his family for 100 years.
Yep, since 1906. And we purchased a chair.
Wow, that's the year my grandma was born. And actually her birthday's tomorrow. And I was just calculating today, that's like 117 years.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. So David's family had this farm, and it's outside of Sedalia, Missouri, which if listeners don't know, it's a small town about 100 miles from Kansas City, and it's the site of the Missouri State Fair. Mm-hmm. And it's a small town. Chris and I lived there for 9 years, and we just loved it. And that's how Brandy and I crossed paths. So we went to one of her events when she first, I don't know if it was your first event or not.
2015, and we had opened September 20th of 2014. So you've seen us in we were an infant whenever you met us.
Yeah. So tell us about your ranch. What have you done with it? What are you doing with it?
Oh my gosh. It's always a big story, So this year, 2024, we'll be open for 10 years. And whenever we bought the family farm, nobody had lived on it since 1979. And you know how it's easier to give birth than to raise the dead. I always have to say that. We had to raise the dead and then give birth because this thing, they went through the Great Depression here,
Yeah.
And nobody had lived on it. So it was utter chaos. But what we've done here is we had actually gotten up to 40 electric sites, 94 stalls, which are divided into 4 stall barns. Now we have a boarding barn. We have 2 round pens. We have a covered arena that we put up. And then we have a heated and air-conditioned guest shower house, 4 cabins. We have a mountain trail course, which is like Ninja Warrior for horses. And now we have an outdoor arena and a mounted archery course. And our latest thing was there were 8 buildings on the property, but they were all in ruins except for one. We have one of the remaining the original buildings up, and it was the old chicken house. But so there were 8 buildings. We had to take down 7. 5 of those 7 buildings was used to build a wedding venue. We did weddings from 2017 to 2023, and now we have taken back over the venue because we're doing homesteading classes. So we're teaching people how to be more self-sufficient, and we're trying to become like a hub for United States for people to come to an actual ranch and learn how to do things hands on. This year is our 10th year being open. We actually won Missouri's Best Ranch for 2024.
Yes,
So,
and you've got some kind of a historic family farm kind of a
yeah,
classification.
Missouri University, has an extension section of their college, and they honor the century farms. So,
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Now,
mhm.
when I first came to your event, I'm going to describe it, and then you can tell us how much it's changed. You had a vision, I think, of being a trail riding facility, kind of,
Mhm.
and you put in the camping facility so that people could come and stay and then ride their horses for several days. And how many acres do you have there?
Well, we put squiggly mark 300, but we actually sold 50 acres. But then we were able to lease those 50 acres back for a minimum of 5 years because of the people that purchase it. They love having the people trail ride.
Oh,
So
cool.
we have around 250 acres, but we still have use of the 300.
Mhm. Cool. So you started out with the trail riding facility, and
Mhm.
then what was the next thing you did?
Oh, having competitions here,
Mhm.
it was just good to dabble because like we needed to give people a reason to come to the facility instead of just trail. But we
Mhm.
still do trail. We have 25 miles of trail here, so people can come and do whatever they'd like to do. Some people will come for a clinic, like we'll have a famous trainer come in,
Mhm.
or they'll come in for, we have these all-inclusive women's events called Chicks in the Sticks, and or they'll come to that, or they'll come to the homesteading and they didn't know that we were here.
So
So,
Chicks in the Sticks, tell me about that. That's
oh,
another business you started, right? All these are individual things.
that's the main income for our facility. It is women only. We do have one that's co-ed, and we call that Hicks in the Sticks. Chicks in the Sticks, it's some of them you have to prove that you're at least 50 years old to even be able to come to it, okay? It's
Ah,
not a big
cool.
party session. All of
Uh-huh.
your food's included, your camping is included, your stall is included. You don't have to come with a horse, but we're not renting ours. And then all the food is included. We have a massage therapist here, and they get a free massage, or a massage is included. They get a USA made shirt. And then we go out to eat dinner. We try to go to this Mennonite lady's house, and she'll make even the butter is homemade. The butter,
Wow.
the bread,
That's
I
cool.
mean, stuff was from her garden or it's from her family's garden. Because I mean, there's like 117 cousins, and they all live in they're horse and buggy, so they have access to everything that we could ever want.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things I thought about that area around Sedalia. There's a lot of Amish and Mennonite communities, and we became very close and involved with lots of different families in that community. And I always felt so blessed to be welcomed into their home for a meal. It just,
Miss
it just,
Mariella, the lady that we go to her house, she can hold up to 25 people at her dining room table.
oh my
It
gosh.
extends into the, they're just big families. I mean,
Yes.
they have a lot
Hmm.
of babies. But
Yeah.
she lets us come to her house, and I call and talk to that lady, and it turns out that she is so educated.
Mhm.
She's in her 60s, and she is a master gardener, and she actually teaches some of the master gardener classes that go through Missouri University. And then
Uh-huh.
she has a catering business, and of course, she knows how to sew. She was one of my presenters at our Country Tough Homesteading Expo, and I had her present about composting. I had her present about fall gardening and soil prep. And then she also did making Mennonite wine, and she did speedy
Wow.
peach preserves. Every one of her presentations was highly attended.
Wow.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
interesting. That's really interesting. So, um, what's the hardest decision you've ever had to make?
Oh, at the ranch?
Or just ever in your life? Just something you want to tell us about. What was a hard decision you made and how did it turn out?
Okay. One of the hardest decisions I ever made was to move to the state of Missouri without a job And I didn't know anybody. I moved to this state without a family member, but I got a job. I moved to Missouri from Arkansas with enough money for 1 month worth of rent and 2 weeks worth of food and fuel without a job, without a family member. Being
What
a
made you come to Missouri? How'd you pick Missouri?
Oh, well, I tried to go to the Olympics as a heavyweight fighter, and
Hmm.
I chose between New Jersey and Missouri based on two different instructors that I was training with.
I see. And
Yeah.
you're back into the fighting thing again now, the
Yeah.
workout. That's pretty crazy. It looks so violent and so
It
intense.
is.
I mean, what a
It is.
workout. Yeah.
Well, it's full contact. I did it for 23 years, and then I took 11 years off for us to build Von Holton Ranch, and then now this is year 24 for me to do full contact taekwondo. It's if you knock them out, you win. If they can't control the bleeding within 60 seconds, you win. And so I'm 44, and the most competitive division is 18 to 32. So
Uh,
they'll allow you to fight in that 18 to 32 because they actually consider you handicapped as soon as you're older than that because we're slower and we recover slower.
uh-huh.
So and that's the one that there's a USA team, and you get to compete internationally. So I fought in that division, and I got second at the qualifier, and then I went to nationals, and I lost my first fight at nationals, but most people would have lost that fight that I had. The lady was a 6'3" Nigerian,
Oh
and
my.
she had won nationals for the last 2 years in the junior division, and she's on the USA team. But now she's moved up into the adult division. I mean, I'm right under 5'7", and I'm 44, and I fought an 18-year-old that's 6'3",
Oh
just a little. She's just violent,
my.
but
Wow.
I'm like, I ended, she knocked me down to the ground twice. I end up with a black eye just on the side, and then my lip line ended up being bruised. But I knocked her down to the ground twice. So she knew she fought me. But
Mhm.
I'm training for her but training for her, like we videoed and analyzed videos and stuff. But training for her, I'm training for everybody. I
Mhm.
mean, she's a great
Wow.
fighter, and she's
Wow.
young. She hadn't been hurt yet, so
Mhm.
they're just more daring. But that's okay.
Yeah, that's wow.
I
What a feat.
enjoyed. I enjoy. I mean, I didn't like losing, but
Mhm.
I didn't get hurt. I don't think I would ever get hurt. Hurt,
Uh-huh. A lot of people when they get older, they kind of slow down and take it easy. And I think as you get older, you're just ramping up. I mean, every time I come onto Facebook and see you, you got some new convention going or some new program going or some new book you've written. You're publishing a children's series of books about your horses. Tell
Well,
us about those.
it's kind of seems like it's about the horses, but it's more about
Mhm.
me healing as a person.
Mhm.
Each one of the books is written as if a different horse is talking, and but it's character development. When I was a school teacher, I just kind of felt like a lot of the character education was watered down. Like it wasn't real enough. I mean, like kids would be like, "I won an award for the most perseverance," and they didn't even know what that meant.
Yeah. Mhm.
So the first book, it's a six book series. I've got the first three written, and and I'm actually going to change the order of the last three just because life has happened with the horses. The first book is about how one positive person can make a difference in the world, and that book is about this horse that wants to become a lesson horse. So because right now a lot of the people that own horses are older, and whenever natural maturation happens and that population decreases, that's the nicest way in the world to say whenever older people pass away,
Yes.
there's going to be there's not a lot of young people getting into horses.
Mhm.
And so he is concerned about that. So he has to convince me to let him become a lesson horse, but we can't talk. We have to talk through actions. But he's trying to help his entire species by helping children fall in love with him.
Mhm.
so they'll fall in love with horses. So that's the first book. That horse is called KTM because my husband used to race motorcycles, and
Ah,
so I had a KTM and he had a KTM dirt bike, so it was fun.
mhm.
It'd be like me naming my horse Harley.
Yeah,
Named
okay.
KTM. The second book is about a mule named Jojo, and a mule is half donkey and half horse. And so he doesn't look like his mom because his mom's a horse, and
Mhm.
he's a little bit of a slower learner, and he just he felt like he didn't fit in, and it's about finding what you're good at, and it doesn't matter what you look like to go for your goals. And so he became my mounted archery mule. We tried a whole bunch of different things, and people told me I wouldn't succeed with him because he was a little bit older and he was stubborn. And he's still stubborn, but we found what he's good at. And
Mhm.
so this year, there's these large horse expos. Well, one of the largest horse expos in the United States is the Midwest Horse Fair. It's in Wisconsin. And this year, I was the clinician with the most presentations. And out of all of the clinicians, I had 8. I had 4 presentations in a lecture room about mounted archery, and I had 4 presentations doing mounted archery. It took me 6 years to get that approved because it's a projectile weapon. And you
Yeah,
have to be running on your animal with the reins down and then shooting with no hands on a running animal. I mean, there's some insurance liabilities. And
uh-huh.
so that's the second book. And then the third one has my heart. Oh, the third one, which I bet, a lot of people might in your world might love this also, but it's about a horse named Chalkboard. The second book was my mule named Jojo.
Mhm.
But Chalkboard, her book is about how having a bad childhood doesn't define you as an adult, and
Mhm.
it's about going through a traumatic event is just a small section, of who of your story. It
Mhm.
doesn't define you.
Mhm.
So that book, um, it's about Chalkboard that had a rough start, and it kind of she's got to learn to love and trust again. So in that book, and what I want to do with that one is I want to get it into whenever police officers have to arrest parents and there's kids involved,
Yes.
I want them to have a box of my books to give a book out to the kid,
I
because
think that's awesome. Yes.
what I want to do with that. I want that book has done really, really well, but I think that book needs to have a bigger audience. Um,
Mhm.
the other books that are not written yet, we have a mule that has a ligament issue, and but nobody can see that, so it's about how not all scars are visible. We have another horse that she's had her jaw broken before, and she's kind of mean, but it's about how hurt people hurt people. It's
Mhm.
about anger displacement. And then we have my smallest horse. Her book is about how your size doesn't limit you. Small, and that book's going to be written from people bullying people that are smaller, not larger. Everybody always takes up for larger people like myself, but
Mhm.
smaller people will still say something about it because they think it's okay because they're smaller.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes
It's a
sense.
children's book.
I
So,
love it. And I love that there are ties to something that lets you tell a story without just coming right out and telling the story, because then people think you're lecturing them.
yep.
And that's kind of what I've done with my workbooks, because I have butterflies unleashed, bees unleashed, dragonflies, and then I have the bird books coming out that are going to be leadership books. I'm using crows and hummingbirds and owls. And then
Yeah.
I have a spiritual section coming out that's going to be kind of related to the life of trees, planting a seed and then growing and then enduring. So
And your books are so beautiful. Oh,
thank you. Thank
I mean, they're
you.
like works of art.
Yeah.
Like they have wonderful activities and reflection
Mhm.
spots, but like just the quality of the book, like it makes me want to get into your book. So
you. Thank you. That's the most fun thing I do. And I have to limit myself. No, you can't work on workbooks today. You've got to do this other work because that's the fun stuff.
Oh, oh, I have the same thing. All I want to do is like business and create,
Uh-huh.
these things. But then whenever we have people that are like, hey, I want to come in on Thursday, I'll need 3 stalls. Can I be beside this? I'm like, oh,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
mundane or like opening up all the mail and then putting things where they need to go. I'm
Yes.
like,
Yes. Yeah.
so I get that.
So, Brandy, who's been your most important mentor?
Man, I get asked this. Okay. So I would say my martial arts instructor. Her name is Terry Gautreaux, and her last name is Gautreaux. So she's the reason I moved to Missouri, and then my husband's the reason I stayed. But I mean, I don't have a lot of friends that I have people that are just little parts of my life, but somebody that's going to be there for the whole book. I have people there for chapters, but she's there
Right.
for the book,
Right. Do you
She
suppose a horse might have been a mentor to you at sometimes? It sounds like they are.
Oh, I got when I was 5 years old, I got a horse named Blackie, and guess what color he was? Okay, I was 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, he passed away my senior year. But then we had other horses, but they contracted a horse disease, and we had 3 days to put them down.
Oh,
So then the next horse I got was this horse named Silk Chick Long. Okay. I got Silk Chick Long when I was 8 years old, and she died when I was 32. And I
wow.
had her last baby, and he's 19 this year. But
Who is it?
KTM, the
Okay. KTM's her baby. Okay,
well,
cool.
KTM's her baby, and then the horse that's the smallest horse, but she's actually my best one. She's a cousin to KTM, and I'm actually going to breed her to continue on that lineage. But KTM, and I had never taken a horseback riding lesson until he was like 7 years old. So there's been so much growth. Like
Mhm.
I became an actual horsewoman with him. Before I was just all my horses were just kind of farmer broke, and we did things that now I would cringe over. Like, oh, I can't believe we did. Like our training
Uh-huh.
was messed up
Yeah.
because ignorance is bliss, and we didn't know any better. But now I do. We've had like at our facility, I think I've had 47 or 48 different clinicians come in, and I always either take their classes or I audit, which is just to watch and listen.
Uh-huh.
And we've formed our own competition series. This is our 7th year, and I've taken what I have learned and put it into action and figured out what other people need. And I've created like online horsemanship courses for people that are novice, that are adults. So I think KTM and his mother was horrible, but I didn't know that because at the time she was
Uh-huh.
everything I ever wanted. But my parents made a horrible mistake buying her because I was young and novice, and they bought a young horse that was super fast. But
Uh,
luckily it worked out.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the things that challenge us, the times when things aren't perfect. I think that's when we really have opportunity to grow and to learn because we have to overcome something.
Oh, yeah. I'm always growing. I look forward to all of our failures. I mean, like it's almost like, ooh, I hope this fails
Yeah.
because every time something fails, whenever we regrow and rethink and reconfigure it, that's whenever
Mhm.
and then it becomes this ever morphing thing. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's important. I look at people who strive to have perfect lives and I think, why would you want that? That is so boring. What can you learn when everything's perfect?
yeah, if somebody is if they look like they're perfect, I know they're not.
Mhm.
They've usually whenever I see these women and I think they got their lives together, those are the ones that are crying behind closed doors or cheating
Well,
on spouses or they've
I
got
know a woman who looked like her life was perfect, and you know what she did?
what?
She broke somebody out of prison in a dog crate because really she wasn't perfect, but she just didn't admit it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if she'd admitted it, she probably could have solved it maybe in a healthier way, but oh well.
Man, but you know what? I sure am glad that you did that.
Yeah, I am too, actually.
I'm glad
I
that
am
you did
too.
that. I think, it's changed people's lives.
Mhm.
I mean, me and you wouldn't be talking right here.
That's true, we wouldn't be. Yeah, that's right. That's
Well, and
right.
I inspire you, and we have like this really small family farm, and all I'm trying to do is not lose it on our watch.
Yeah, and
I mean,
it's you just amaze me. I mean, there's always something new happening, and I think you could give Brandy a piece of crap, and she'd turn it into gold, I mean, she would because you just are so dogged and determined and don't give up.
well, you can't. I mean, there's no future in giving up. I mean,
Yeah.
like, what is the? I don't know. I see people my age and they are so. I'm 44. I'll turn 45. I've got 40-year-olds in my life that they're not going to do anything except for the same thing between now and when they pass away.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's nothing that's going to change. Or, I mean, 3 years after they've passed away, all their stuff will be gone, and the world won't even know they were here.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And then I see I've got 70 and 80-year-olds that are going for new goals, and they're learning how to do things, and they're teaching others, and their lineage is going to like have this positive ripple in the
Mhm.
world. So
Yeah.
I'm like, age means nothing to me. Like,
Mhm.
our clothing line is actually at country-tough.com, because we tell everybody only your dash matters. It doesn't matter when you're
Oh,
born or
yes.
when you
Mhm.
die. That dash is all that matters. And, I've just been too successful as a plus size woman to ever limit myself on anything. Limit myself because of, how many people would sit down in a box in a corner and cry because they're fat. And I'm all like,
A million of them would. I mean, that's another thing, you just get out there and you own it. And it's like somebody told me once. I had lunch with a friend I met here in Washington, D.C. last week, and I said, I'm going to be on this TV show that's coming up, but I don't know when it's going to be released. And she said, well, what's it about? And I said, oh, the great prison escapes. And she said, you just own that, don't you? And I said, well, I have to. I mean, why wouldn't I?
yeah,
And it's the same thing with your size. You just put it out there, you own it. And a couple of years ago, you started doing these ice water baths,
oh,
and
yeah.
you set up this stock tank outside your back door, and you filled it with water and ice, and you go out there in your swimsuit or your shorts, and you'd get in and take this ice water bath and post them live on Facebook. And I thought, how many women with perfect bodies would do that?
Oh,
Nobody.
yeah. So,
And you just don't care. And I think that's what makes you so successful, is that
well,
you just
I love those ice water baths. I am so on this holistic journey right now, and I want everybody to like improve their health. And most of the things that you can do to improve your health don't cost anything hardly. I mean, like, girl, ice water baths. I do red light every day right now. I have something called a TheraPlate. My horse can even stand on the TheraPlate, and it helps. And like, the person that invented it is like in tune with helping the world.
huh.
And I make, girl, like right here, for the people that are getting to watch, like this right here,
Mhm.
that's whipped tallow. That's beef fat. It's just beef fat put in here with essential oils. This is my lotion. And
Wow.
I'm like learning how to do all this stuff. And
Mhm.
I don't know, it doesn't matter your size. And I don't know. I hate whenever I see people limit themselves. Just yesterday on Facebook, I was like, my homesteading event had just happened, and we had around 100 people, which, I always wanted it to be thousands for the first
Mhm.
one. But every time we do something, we always have this little step. It's like people have to wait and make sure that we're not nuts, right?
Mhm.
And then, but I know that I'll have 1,000 people next year. And I even put on social media, like, oh, I wish somebody would say that I won't do it, because I want to prove to them that I will. But
Yeah.
nobody in their right mind would ever tell me that I won't do something, you know?
Mhm. It's just a
Because,
challenge. It's like throwing down a gauntlet to Brandy,
oh, yeah,
saying
I'm
you
like,
can't do
ding,
something.
ding, begin.
Yeah. 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 I love that. I love that. So, was there ever a time you really felt imprisoned, and what did you do to free yourself?
Ooh, okay. Um, my husband and I, we actually, uh, we've come into waves with loving our business and not loving our business. And for a minute, we got where we felt like we were trapped. And then we actually put this place up for sale, because I'm like, nobody traps Brandy Von Holten. I will freaking walk away and restart,
Mhm.
you know? But then, whenever it was for sale and people wanted it, then we stepped back and we were like, hold on, we love this, so
Uh-huh. Yeah.
actually
I
created.
remember that. You put it up for sale. You made the announcement on Facebook, and I told my husband, they're not going to do it. They won't do it.
Well, I had a very unhappy husband at the time,
Uh-huh.
and he was unhappy. His father passed away, and his father was very mean to my husband and did some things, and then my husband was like, we're done. He was done with Von Holten. He
Ah,
was, so we had some behind the scene
mm,
family pain that we were going through,
yeah.
and then that's whenever we were like, okay, this place is ours. Yes, it's been in the same family since 1906. We bought it in 2013. It was never given to us. And we just, now we view it as our place. So
Mhm.
we had actually created our own prisons. Another time that I felt in prison was my childhood. I couldn't wait to get out of that. That childhood. My childhood was rough. I mean, I've got. It's why I know how to fight.
Mhm.
And it's why I've got the plates and the screws in my face, because they
Mhm.
had to
Wow.
reshape my face. But I felt trapped, and but I don't know. I got out, and there were two times that I didn't have enough money to stay moved out. You know how, like, a lot of kids move out and move back in. I
Yes.
I never moved back in. I lived in my car, and I was homeless twice because I
Mhm.
refused to move back in. Now I do love my family, but I don't love everything that they put me through, and I don't love a large part of my childhood. There
You
are
know,
some wonderful parts of my childhood, but there's some rough stuff that went down.
and that's a really important point because I think that's true for more people than admit it. And I think, I had a daughter who died as a baby. She only lived 18 hours, and actually her birthday was this last Tuesday. I never got over it because I never let myself talk about it or think about it. I tried to keep it buried. And that's when you get yourself in trouble because stuff just festers and becomes even worse than it ever was. So I think it's so important to be honest with yourself and acknowledge that maybe you didn't have a perfect childhood, or maybe you don't have a perfect marriage, or maybe you're not perfect and there's things you need to change, and then do it. But you have to, first thing you have to do is admit it and own that it isn't perfect, and then you can do something about it.
Well, and something that's really helped me out lately is, well, in like the last 2 years, is I have divorced my story. Like, I can tell my story, but I've divorced the victimhood that
Yeah. Mm,
I'm not the victim anymore. And
right.
now, I actually went to a therapist before about me being like this big achiever and all that. And it was because I was always trying to get the approval of someone. And,
Mhm.
and then I was like, ugh, I don't want to achieve anything else because it's for a weird reason in my head.
Uh-huh.
But now
Uh-huh.
I'm like, screw that. I like the product that was started for the wrong reason.
Yes.
So,
Uh-huh.
I've come to, and now I don't seek anybody's approval. I
Mhm.
don't seek, I mean, now and that took me a minute. man, that took me a long time to not seek someone else's approval. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing what I want to do. And I'm trying, and this whole freaking, the lie that the whole world thinks that you've got to have debt. I got in kind of some deep debt, and now I'm like, let me get out of this. And so
Uh-huh.
I can even be even more free.
Right, right. I think that's really important. So, what's one question you wish I'd asked?
Tell me your big goals.
Okay, tell me.
Well, I'm going to look over here because I actually had them made into a poster. So here's a poster I have, and
Okay,
you know what? And I'm going to readjust it.
okay,
I had this up because I want to see it, right? And no out of sight, out of mind for me. So it says the secret to success is found in your daily routine. So I focus on my daily routine, and it says big goals equal big reality. So here is what I have written down as my big goals, and I think I'm going to modify just a little bit. Okay, not I'm going
okay,
to read to you what it says, but I'll probably modify in December. So
okay,
I want to weigh below 200 pounds. I want to do that without a supplement and without a surgery. I want
mm-hmm,
to do that just grit and me.
mm-hmm,
I want to write a motivational book, and I'm actually going to wait until my father passes away to write that book. Just that's my form of love to a man that probably doesn't deserve that from me, but I'm going to give that to him.
mm-hmm.
Podcasts downloaded in every country. There's a little bit over 200 countries in the world, and my podcast has been downloaded into not quite 40. Okay,
Wow,
30 something, right? I
huh?
just picked up Switzerland.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
I want to help 1,000 people reach their goals. So that's with my business coaching. Um, I want to run a horse wide open across a field. Now I can canter them, but it's not wide open. There's a difference between wide open
Yeah.
and running in an arena or a short amount. So I want to place in the top 5 at an international mounted archery competition. I want to gross 1 million in a year. I want to have zero debt, and I want to have my own reality show.
I love that. Wow, I could see you doing a reality show. That's pretty cool.
I could too. I would watch it because we have so many different things going on here, and we are like red, white, and blue. Man,
Uh-huh.
we're the American dream that happened, but it's also the American nightmare.
Yes, yes, that's so true.
Oh
I
my
love and
gosh.
I love that you write them down and you look at them every day. I have goals too, but
Let me hear yours.
I need to write me down. Well, I realized in the past couple of months that Toby Dorr is doing some amazing things. She has programs for women. She's putting on seminars. She's doing some things. But Toby Dorr is 66 and going to be 67 in October. And Toby Dorr has limited time. I mean, I
Well,
might have a lot. I might have 20 years, but when you get to be 67, you start realizing, your time's not unlimited. And I want the work that I'm doing to continue after I'm gone. But I don't think it can continue as Toby Dorr because I'm gone. So I decided I needed to come up with a name of something and have this umbrella company business to hold everything so that I could pass it on. I decided what I was going to call it, and it's called Fierce Grace,
ooh.
which I just love those two words together. I mean, fierce, I have fierce conversations. Everything I'm doing is fierce, but grace is such a part of my story too. And I never put those two words together until I had lunch with someone who wanted to meet me, and it was the same person I had lunch with a couple days ago, but she lived in DC and read my book and listened to my podcast and wanted to meet me in person and offered to take me to lunch. And we were there for 3 hours. And she said, I don't ever want to leave. She said, all I do is listen to you and you just are oozing this fierce grace. And I said, what? Fierce grace? I would have never put those two words together, but you're right. I mean, that's so
I love
anyway,
it.
fierce grace. And my mission statement is to create a space where the room is so filled with love that there's no room for shame.
Oh yeah, shame. Like we need to
Mhm.
get rid of that.
Yes, we do.
Oh,
And it's a
shame
burden.
is.
I think women embrace shame more than men do. We just feel guilty about everything. And you've got to stop that. You've got to just, so I broke somebody out of prison. I was on America's Most Wanted. I went to prison. Big deal. This is what I'm doing today. So,
Well, and I've I've hurt people's feelings. I've been mean. I have taken meanness that was towards me, and I couldn't be mean to the person that was mean to me, so I was mean to other people. I
yes.
mean, and I've, I've told people secrets, and I've done horrible stuff that I won't be friends with people if they do stuff like that,
Mhm.
and I've grown up though these last 10 years from 33 to 43 was,
Mhm.
my business deals with, I mean, like 80% of our clients are 60 plus, and
Mhm.
those are the people I want to be around.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't I don't want to be around the person I was when I started this business.
Yes. I can relate. I'm learning as I move into this phase of my life that there's a different essence, a different feel. It's more about wisdom. It's more about the
Yeah.
good, and it's less about wanting this
Oh
thing,
yeah.
that thing.
Yeah. Hey, also for the people that are able to see me, they can only see the top part of my shirt
Uh-huh.
and it says hoeing, but it says hoeing ain't easy. It's a gardening shirt.
Because you're doing master gardening classes there too,
Yeah,
aren't you?
we're doing
Yeah.
gardening classes. I just felt like I should explain the we wearing a purple shirt that says hoeing ain't easy.
That's pretty funny. I like that. I
Uh,
like that. So, is there a question you'd like to ask me?
you know, man, okay. So, um, let me think here. Okay, question. If I had a client, right, that felt like the mistakes that they had, I think here I'll ask you something because you're 20 years older than me, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So, what is something I could say to someone that's 66 that would make them like pull themselves up by their bootstraps to like live their life, because so many girl, whenever I have women turn 50, and most of them are pretty like, yeah, I'm still
Mhm.
pretty, I'm beautiful. And then girl, whenever my clients hit 60, they're like, I need to buy a burial plot. I need to get my
Ah,
wheel,
yeah.
'cause they see their friends dropping like flies, right? And I'm
Mhm.
just like, you got to let go of that stuff. And then when they hit 61, they're just like, oh my gosh, another year has passed. They're like, slow
Uh-huh.
down.
Yeah.
62, they get that strength back and they're like, I'm going to do what I want to do,
Yes. Yes.
And so, what is something that helped you? Like, I'm sure a lot of people have issues with turning 60, because they're like, oh Lord, ooh, slow down. And then my
Mhm.
70-year-olds are freaking they're fun. My 70-year-olds are unhinged. Like
Mhm.
they are doing what they're buying the horse, they're getting the horse trailer, they are doing what the heck they want to do. But those early 60s are rough. So, what is something I could say to people?
I think one of the important things is, you've worked your whole life to get here. And now it's time to enjoy because you've done all this hard work in the past. So I think one of the biggest things that really helps people get out of themselves is to ask them, what can you do for someone else? And how can you do that today or tomorrow?
All right. So, help them focus on the selflessness.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
selflessness. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, some of my best volunteers are in their 60s, and people that have like helped me so much are in their
Mhm.
60s. They have
Yeah.
so much knowledge, and I don't. They just, and I will tell you, the people that took care of their health and stuff early on, boy, they are getting to live that better life later on.
That's true. And I feel, I mean, this is my personal feeling. I've had a great life. I've experienced a million things.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's over today, cool, I'm fine. But until that moment comes, I'm going to keep doing what I do because I love it.
Yeah.
You know,
Man, I'm going to be getting chased by the Grim Reaper, and I'll be like, one more thing. Let me get this one more thing
I
done.
just needed
Okay.
to get this on my board. Yes. Right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know. Is there anything else you would like to know or anything or
Well, what's one word that inspires you?
one word?
Yeah.
Um, Tenacious.
Oh, that's a good word.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, when people say I've been described as unapologetic, which they don't realize that in my head I'm like, oh, I needed to say that differently,
Mhm.
and I'm chewing
Mhm.
around all on
Right. Right.
that. Tenacious has been said about me so many times and unwavering, but
Hmm.
I love the word tenacious.
I like that word too. I
Yeah.
like it. I like it a lot. Maybe that would be the title of your self-help book.
I don't know what I want to call it yet, but probably like uh, probably Big Boss Mare, How to Be a
Yeah.
Big Boss Mare. And I have started on that book, and I write chapters every now and then, like how to deal with adult bullying and
Yes.
have a positive self image.
But you know what you could do? One word titles are pretty powerful. You could do tenacious big boss mare story or something.
Oh
You could
yeah,
have a subtitle with that in there. But I think a book called Tenacious would make people just pick it up off the shelf. Like this book's got some
well,
grit to it.
yeah, it's good. It's well, and you know what? People don't know what a mare is. They think it's Mary. They think my
Yes,
name's Mary.
yes. Uh-huh. Right, right.
They think it's Marie. They think, and I'm like, what? Which I
Uh-huh.
am almost Mexican. I was born in South Texas. I was born
Yeah,
like 30 miles above Mexico. I would have been like the most Caucasian Mexican in the world. That would have been cool.
yeah, that makes
I
sense.
would have won all sorts of bets on bet my,
Uh-huh.
what
Right.
I ate. But
Yeah, I love that. Well, I can't wait to continue following you on Facebook and see what comes next. But you've just been doing amazing things. And I think that Brandy is a perfect example of take what you're dealt and make something out of it. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment to start or the perfect tools to start. Just start and create it as you go.
well, yeah, and man, with all the people that you meet, man, I want to travel this world and tell this story.
Yes.
And I'm always keeping you in mind for that because people need to hear that. My disaster can become somebody else's, inspiration.
Launching pad. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I
So,
love that. Hmm.
most definitely. I
Yeah.
love listening to people's stories.
Hmm.
It makes me more empathetic, and it makes me have more empathy, and I feel like it broadens my scope.
Yeah, if you tell somebody how to do something, they might listen, they might not. But if you tell them your story or a story of someone who did something, they'll remember that story because human beings crave stories. That's our thing. And so I think stories matter, and I think that's why it's so important that people tell their stories.
Well, that's why I chose the animals for those books
Mhm.
and to go with children because I feel like, man, our childhoods, they mess us up our whole
They
lives.
do. They do.
We need to try to fix those a little bit earlier and then also help people heal
I
without
love that.
lecture and
Yeah, I love that too. I'm working on a children's book actually. Well, actually, I have one done, but I want to write a series of three. So anyway, the thing about children is you can lecture them, what
yeah.
so many people do, but that goes in one ear and out the other. But when you tell them a story and you relate it to an animal or something sweet and that they can identify with, they remember it. So I think it's powerful.
I've had statements that were said to me as a child that locked in. Like I had a different martial arts instructor one time tell me that sometimes the kids have to be the adults, you know?
Hmm.
And so I'm like, whew, that was impactful. I
Yeah.
had another instructor tell me one time that if anything matters, that everything matters. So you need to be taken care of, getting your laundry dry cleaned and making sure you have groceries. You can't just hyper focus on one thing. You've
Hmm.
got to make sure, because if that one thing matters, you've got to not let the other things in your life fall apart.
Yeah, I saw I was watching a video this week, and now I can't even remember who it was, but it was somebody who knew a lot of stuff, and some kid in the audience asked him, "What can I do to change my life?" And he said, "Go home and make your bed."
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, it is the little things. It's the little things you just start doing that become routine. And then you add more and you add more and you add more until suddenly you're doing some amazing things because you can't just troll around. You've got to do something. You've got to, have habits that last.
Every day I start with I'll show it to you. It is my prepare to conquer the day. And then I drink.
I
This is what I have to do before I do what I have to do.
love that.
You
Yeah.
know, I check my calendar, I read, I fill out my planner, I tidy up my work area,
Hmm.
I process the mail, I go through our finances, and I pay any bills that need to be paid. My father once told me that there's two different types of people in this world. There's people that live and then pay bills, and there's people that pay bills and then live. And
Hmm.
he told me that I'm the one that pays bills and then lives. And my brother, who never really been good with finances, he said that he would live and then pay bills. That was the
Yes.
difference between
Hmm.
the two of us.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. It is amazing how just changing the order of something changes the whole concept of that thought.
yep.
Pretty interesting. Well, thanks so much, Brandy. I've loved having you on today. And we will have links in our show notes to all of your different websites. So be sure and send those to me. And you
Okay.
can reach out and contact Brandy Von Holten. And I would recommend following her on Facebook because you will be entertained and amazed.
Yeah, they just need to, if it's too much, they can snooze me for 30 days or just click into a few of them. They don't need to go all overload with all of our stuff because it's
Right.
too much for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But
thanks again, Brandy. And check the show notes for links to get in touch with Brandy.
All right. Hey, Toby,
Yeah.
last exiting thoughts. If I'm too much, then go find less.
I love that. I
I
might
have that on shirts.
episode
I
that.
have that on shirts. It says, if I'm too much, then go find less.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing that down.
Oh, yeah, girl, you put that in your pocket. I sell the heck out of that shirt.
I love it. I'm going to have to order one of those shirts, so I'm going to do that. Thanks, Brandy.
See you later. See you next time.
Okay. Thank you for tuning in to Fierce Conversations with Toby. Your support means the world, and I hope today's episode made a positive impact on you. To keep our conversations going, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. A 5-star rating, like, comment, or review helps tremendously in spreading our message. You can also support the show by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/Fierce Conversations. All members receive a downloadable gratitude journal and access to a private Facebook group. Plus, 10% of your subscription goes directly to donating my workbooks to women in prison. Finally, sharing this episode with your friends and family is a great way to amplify our mission. Fierce Conversations is created and hosted by me, Toby Dorr, with production by Number 3 Productions. The theme music, Grooving, composed by Lisa Plass, features Lisa on flute, Carolyn Parody on piano, and Tony Ventura on bass. Learn more at tobydor.com. Thanks for listening, and remember, escape your prison.